You walked into a room recently, a room full of people you have known for years, maybe decades. You sat down, you looked at a face you used to love, and you felt nothing. Or worse, you felt a crushing, leaden exhaustion. You tried to speak the old script. You tried to ask the usual questions about the job, the partner, the drama, but the words tasted like ash in your mouth. You felt a physical resistance in your throat. You wanted to stand up and walk out, but you didn't. You stayed. You smiled, and you felt like you were dying inside. You think this is depression. You have told yourself you are becoming cold. You worry you are becoming arrogant. You think you are losing your ability to love. I am here to tell you that it is none of these things. You are not broken. You are not depressed. And you are certainly not arrogant. What you are experiencing is a phenomenon in structural mechanics known as the tensile capacity threshold. You have not become bad at friendship. You have become structurally incompatible with the load-bearing capacity of your old environment. Materials science dictates that every structure has a specific yield point. This is not a theory, it is a law. In a lab, if you take a steel bar and pull it for a while, it stretches, it bounces back. This is called the elastic region. This is where you have been living for the last few years. You stretch yourself to fit the conversation. You shrink yourself to fit the dynamic, you bounce back. But if you apply enough force, if you add enough weight, the material hits the yield point. At this precise nanosecond, the atoms inside the material permanently slide past one another. The structure changes. It enters the plastic region. It cannot bounce back. It is permanently deformed. You have hit the yield point. The isolation you feel right now is not a punishment. It is a safety protocol. Your consciousness has gained mass. Your reality has gained density. You are trying to park a semi-truck on a wooden footbridge. The creaking you hear in your relationships, that isn't you being difficult. That is the physics of the bridge, screaming under a load it was never designed to carry. The bridge isn't judging the truck isn't hating the bridge. It is simply a failure of engineering. Today we replace the guilt of losing friends with the physics of structural tension. We are going to stop trying to fix the bridge with positive thinking. You cannot love a wooden beam into becoming steel. You cannot nice your way out of a physics problem. It is time to understand the engineering of your soul. This is why you are exhausted. Think about the energy required to hold back a flood. That is what you are doing every time you engage in these old dynamics. You are not just hanging out. You are actively managing a structural failure. You are holding up the ceiling while trying to have a casual conversation. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the specific failures occurring in your system right now. Because I know you are blaming yourself. I know you are lying awake at night wondering why you can't just be normal again, why you can't just laugh at the same jokes. Symptom 1. The gossip hangover. You used to participate in it. The circular complaints, the judgment of others. It used to be a bonding ritual. Now you hear someone start the loop, complaining about the same problem they have had for 10 years, the problem they refuse to solve, and you feel physical nausea. Your stomach turns, your skin crawls. This is not judgment. This is resonance interference. You are vibrating at a frequency of solution and creation. They are vibrating at a frequency of stagnation. When these two waveforms meet, they don't harmonize. They cancel each other out. The nausea is your body rejecting the destructive interference. Symptom 2. The dimmer switch. Notice your posture when you are around them. Do you slouch? Do you soften your voice? Do you use smaller words? Do you hide your wins? You have learned that your full voltage blows their fuses. So you install a dimmer switch. You dim your light to keep them comfortable. You undervolt your own system. But running a high-performance machine on low voltage doesn't save energy. It destroys the motor. It creates heat. It creates friction. That heat is the anxiety you feel after you leave them. You are overheating from suppressing your own output. Symptom 3. The ghost notification. You see their name pop up on your phone, a text, a call. In the past, this was a dopamine hit, connection, safety. Now, it is a cortisol spike, immediate dread. You stare at the screen and you feel heavy. You calculate how much energy it will take to respond. You calculate the cost of the interaction. This is not you being a bad friend. This is your internal guidance system flagging a structural threat. Your system knows that engaging with that notification requires a resource expenditure that yields a negative return. It is an investment that bankrupts you. You have been silently carrying this guilt. You feel like you are screaming in a soundproof room. You look around and everyone else seems fine. Everyone else is happy with the wooden bridge. Everyone else is content with the small talk, the complaints, the weekends that blur into nothingness. And you wonder, am I the problem? No, you are the load. This is the hardest part to accept. You want to be one of the pillars, you want to be part of the support system. But you have outgrown the design specifications of the structure. When you grow, when you heal trauma, when you build wealth, when you access spiritual depth, you are not just changing your mind. You are adding mass to your being. You are becoming heavier in a metaphysical sense. Imagine a bridge built for pedestrians. It is charming. It is made of wood and rope. It serves its purpose perfectly for people walking light. Now, imagine driving an 18-wheeler onto that bridge. The wood snaps, the rope tears. The bridge collapses into the canyon. Who is at fault? Is the truck evil for being heavy? No. It carries a valuable payload. Is the bridge toxic for being made of wood? No, it was built for a different purpose. The disaster happened because you ignored the load limit signs. You tried to force a high-mass object onto a low-capacity structure. You are currently standing in the wreckage of that bridge. You are looking at the splintered wood and the snapped ropes, and you are trying to glue them back together. You are apologizing to the wood for breaking it. You are trying to make your truck lighter by throwing away your cargo, your dreams, your standards, your truth. You are trying to become empty again so you can cross the bridge safely. Stop it. The bridge did not fail because you are broken. The bridge failed because you are real. The creaking you hear, that terrible sound of relationships straining and snapping, is the sound of physics protecting you. If the bridge didn't break, you would have stayed asleep. You would have stayed small. The collapse is the only way to get you off a structure that can no longer support your destiny. If you have felt that structural creaking in your relationships, that specific heavy dread that feels like lifting dead weight, hit the like button right now. Do not do it for the algorithm. Do it to validate the data. Do it to acknowledge that the load is real and that you are done apologizing for your mass. Let's look at the engineering. Let's look at why you can't go back. Let's take this out of the realm of psychology and place it where it belongs, the materials testing laboratory. To understand why you feel like an alien in your own life, we must look at a specific piece of equipment used by civil engineers. It is called the Universal Testing Machine. Imagine a massive hydraulic press. Its job is simple. It tests the strength of materials, steel, concrete, titanium. The engineer clamps a sample bar into the machine and begins to pull. This is a tensile test. The machine applies force, pulling the ends apart, measuring how the material reacts to stress. In the beginning of the test, the material stretches. If the engineer releases the load, the bar snaps back to its original shape. It is flexible. It is accommodating. In engineering, this phase is called the elastic region. For the last 10 years of your life, you have been living in the elastic region. Think about your social interactions. You go to the dinner party. You hear the same gossip. You feel the boredom rising, the irritation spiking. But you suppress it. You stretch, you nod, you smile. You shrink your vocabulary to fit the room. Then you go home, you exhale, and you snap back to yourself. You recovered. You were elastic. You compromised your shape to maintain the connection. And because your internal mass was lower then, you could bounce back without damage. But the universal testing machine does not stop pulling, and neither did your life. Over the last few years, you have been under an increasing load. Maybe you started a business. Maybe you faced a shadow in your psyche that nearly broke you. Maybe you accessed a level of spiritual truth that shattered your old worldview. Whatever it was, the load increased. The tension on your soul increased. The machine kept pulling. In the lab, as the stress increases, the material reaches a critical threshold. The atoms inside the metal begin to slide past one another. They dislocate. The structure changes at a molecular level, and then it happens. The material hits the yield point. This is the most critical concept for you to understand today. The yield point is the precise moment where elastic behavior ends and plastic deformation begins. Once a material passes the yield point, it does not snap back. It is permanently changed. It has elongated. Its internal geometry is different. You are currently suffering because you have passed your yield point, but you are trying to force yourself back into the elastic region. You are trying to bounce back to who you were 5 years ago. You are trying to sit at that table and be the person who laughs at the small talk. But you cannot. Not because you are arrogant, not because you are depressed, but because you have undergone plastic deformation. Your consciousness has permanently expanded. The atoms of your being have slid into a new configuration. To try and force a material back to its original shape after it has passed the yield point requires an immense amount of energy. In engineering, we call this work hardening. In your life, we call it exhaustion. This explains the physical symptoms you are feeling. The deep, heavy fatigue after a 1-hour coffee date. That isn't introversion. That is the energy cost of trying to compress a permanently expanded structure back into a box that no longer fits. You are fighting physics, and physics always wins. We need to label this phenomenon so you can stop treating it as a moral failing. We will call this the calm tensile capacity threshold. The tensile capacity threshold is the maximum amount of energetic weight, truth, ambition, complexity, perception that a specific social dynamic can support before structural failure occurs. There are 3 laws that govern this threshold. You need to memorize them. First, the threshold is finite. A wooden beam has a specific load rating. You can paint it, you can love it, you can cherish the history of the tree it came from, but you cannot make it hold the weight of a concrete slab. Your old relationships have a finite capacity for depth. This is not an insult to the wood, it is a fact of construction. Second, the threshold is non-negotiable. You cannot negotiate with gravity. You cannot communicate your way out of a structural mismatch. If you place 10 tons on a 2-ton table, the table collapses. It does not matter if the table has good intentions. It does not matter if you have known the table since kindergarten. The physics of capacity are absolute. Third, the breakage is protective. When you feel that sudden impulse to leave, that repelling force pushing you away from people you love, that is a safety mechanism. Your system is recognizing that the load is exceeding the rating. The relationship is about to buckle. Your intuition is pulling the emergency brake to prevent a total structural collapse that would hurt both of you. But you haven't seen it this way. You have been searching for a fix. You sit up at night, scrolling through forums, typing into the search bar. Why can't I relate to anyone anymore? You are looking for a communication tip. You are hoping for a psychological trick to make you interested in things you have outgrown. You are treating this like a software bug, but this is not software. This is hardware. This is a capacity issue. There are 2 ways people try to fix this, and both lead to disaster. The first method is the dimmer switch, and this is what you are likely doing right now. You realize your new mass, your new ideas, your new success, your new intensity is too heavy for the room. You see the pillars of your friend's reality starting to crack under your weight. So you try to become lighter. You dim the light. You withhold your truth. You pretend you don't see the patterns you see. You pretend you still care about the trivial drama. You engage the dimmer switch to reduce the load on the bridge. Here is the engineering consequence of the dimmer switch. When you compress a high-density structure into a low-density space, you create internal pressure. The energy you are holding back doesn't disappear. It turns inward. It becomes anxiety. It becomes inflammation. It becomes autoimmune dysregulation. You are imploding your own structural integrity to save the comfort of the external environment. You are sacrificing the building to save the wallpaper. The second method is the anchor drag. This is when you refuse to dim your light, but you refuse to let go of the old circle. You decide, I will make them grow with me. You try to drag them across the bridge. You push books on them they didn't ask for. You give them advice they didn't solicit. You critique their life choices because you can see a better way. In mechanics, this is called applying shear force. You are applying a lateral force to a structure designed only for vertical loads. You think you are helping. You think you are loving them, but from their perspective, you are aggressive. You are tearing them apart. You are demanding they retrofit their entire psychological foundation overnight to accommodate your new speed. Structural retrofitting takes years. It cannot be forced. When you drag an anchor, you don't make the ship faster. You just tear a hole in the hull. They resent you because you are breaking them. This brings us to the hard truth of the yield point. The confusion you feel, that heavy, dark cloud of isolation, is born from a single misconception. You believe that maintenance means stasis. You believe that to be a loyal friend, you must remain the same shape. But you are no longer that shape. The tensile test is complete. You have stretched, you have yielded, you have hardened. This feeling of isolation is not depression. It is not arrogance. It is the necessary void of a construction site. Imagine a city planner who decides to replace a wooden footbridge with a steel suspension bridge. What is the first thing they do? They close the road. They stop the traffic. They create a vacancy. You are currently in the vacancy. You have torn up the old pavement because it couldn't handle the semi-trucks of your new consciousness, but you haven't built the steel pylons yet. So you are standing on the edge of a ravine, looking at the construction tape, feeling guilty that you aren't letting the cars cross. Stop letting the cars cross, the bridge is out. You are not isolating because you are broken. You are isolating because you are under construction. You are upgrading the load-bearing capacity of your entire life, and you cannot pour concrete while traffic is still running. The guilt you feel is simply the sound of the old wood splintering. It is unpleasant, yes, but it is not wrong. It is the sound of progress. It is the sound of you preparing to bear a weight that your old self could never have imagined. You have passed the yield point. Stop trying to unstretch the steel. It is time to look at what this new capacity actually means for the architecture of your future. You are currently operating under a delusion. It is a noble delusion, but it is a destructive one. You believe that loyalty means stasis. You have internalized a social contract that says, to love someone, I must remain within the recognizable geometry of who I was when we met. You believe that changing your structural dimensions is a betrayal of the history you share. This is where we must apply the engineering law of variable loads. Here is the great revelation. Growth is not just a change in direction, it is a change in mass. When you evolve, when you integrate new truths, when you expand your financial reality, when you deepen your spiritual awareness, you are not just becoming smarter or worse. You are becoming heavier. Consciousness has weight. Truth has density. Ambition has mass. In the physical world, if you add 10 tons of steel to a structure, you must reinforce the foundation. If you do not, the structure collapses. In your relational world, you have added 10 tons of psychological and spiritual mass to your character. You have done the work. You have integrated the shadow. You have expanded your capacity to perceive reality. And then, you try to walk back onto the wooden footbridge of your high school friendship. You step onto the planks. You hear the wood groan. You feel the swaying. You see the terror in your friend's eyes as the beams begin to fracture under your feet. You interpret this reaction as rejection. You think, they don't like me anymore. You think, they are judging me for changing. Look closer. That is not judgment, that is structural buckling. You are trying to park a semi-truck on a pier designed for fishing boats. The pier is not toxic for failing. The pier is not bad for cracking. The pier is simply a structure rated for a lower load capacity. This brings us to the central paradox of your isolation. You feel guilty because you are breaking the bridge, but the only way to save the bridge is to shrink yourself back into a bicycle. You have spent the last 6 months, maybe the last 6 years, trying to compress your new mass into the old container. You dim your light, you soften your voice, you pretend that you still care about the petty drama of the neighborhood. You are engaging in structural compression. Do you know what happens to a material under high compression? It generates heat. That is the anger you feel. That is the sudden, inexplicable rage that flares up when someone asks you a simple, small question. It is the heat of your own soul compressing itself to fit a room that is too small. Let's dismantle the 3 cascading implications of this engineering reality. First, let's diagnose your boredom. You think you are bored because you are arrogant. You think you are too good for them. No. In engineering terms, boredom is underload. Imagine an engine built to haul freight up a mountain. Now imagine idling that engine in a driveway for 6 hours. The engine will overheat. It will suffer from carbon buildup. It will degrade. Your boredom is not an emotional failing. It is a notification that your capacity is not being utilized. You have built a mind capable of processing complex, high-torque existential problems, and you are using it to discuss the weather. The engine is vibrating the chassis apart because it has nothing to pull. You are not bored. You are underutilized. Second, let's diagnose their defensiveness. You notice a specific relationship turn cold overnight. You didn't say anything mean. You just shared an idea, a win, or a new perspective, and they snapped at you, or they went silent. This is buckling. When a column is subjected to a weight it cannot hold, it bows outward. It creates a lateral deflection. When you bring your full intensity to a person who has not upgraded their internal pillars, they buckle. Their defensiveness is a safety reflex. They are subconsciously sensing that your reality is heavier than their reality. If they accept your truth, their worldview collapses. So they push back, they mock you, they tell you to be realistic. They are not fighting you, they are fighting to keep their roof from caving in. Third, we must address the guilt. There is a specific search phrase that thousands of people type into Google in the dead of night: outgrowing friends' guilt. It is a silent epidemic. This guilt is based on the assumption that you could fix it if you just tried harder. You think, if I were a better friend, I could make them understand. Stop. You cannot guilt a 2x4 piece of wood into holding a skyscraper. You can scream at the wood. You can love the wood. You can cry over the wood. But the wood has a yield point defined by its molecular structure. It is not a choice. It is physics. Expecting your old circle to suddenly develop the capacity to hold your new weight is not optimism. It is an act of violence against them. You are crushing them with expectations they are structurally incapable of meeting. Pause for a moment. I want to ask you a question that might hurt. What if your loyalty to them is actually disrespect to your own soul? You are holding on to these connections because you are afraid of the void. You are afraid that if you step off the wooden pier, you will drown. So you stay, and you listen to the creaking, and you watch the wood splinter, and you hate yourself for it. We need to execute a methodological shift. The old you operated as a good friend. The good friend seeks consensus. The good friend wants everyone to agree. The good friend manages emotions to keep the peace. The new you must operate as an architect. An architect does not ask the brick if it feels like holding the roof. The architect calculates the load, tests the material, and makes a decision. This shifts your interaction style from asking for permission to testing strength. When you speak to people now, you are not looking for validation. You are conducting a stress test. You drop a small piece of your truth, a test load, onto the conversation. If they respond with curiosity and expansion, the pillar is strong. You can add more weight. If they respond with confusion, mockery, or silence, the pillar is weak. Do not add more weight. Do not get angry at the pillar. Just mark it on your blueprint. Non-load-bearing wall. This is the freedom you have been yearning for. It is the freedom of neutrality. You are no longer a bad person abandoning your tribe. You are a site manager declaring a safety hazard. You are realizing that some people are decoration in the house of your life. They are the drywall. They are the paint. They are nice to look at, but they cannot hold the roof. And for the last 10 years you have been treating the drywall like a support beam and then wondering why the house is falling down. It is time to stop apologizing for your mass. It is time to stop trying to retrofit a shed to hold a cathedral. You are under construction, and the first rule of any construction site is simple. If it cannot hold the load, it must be removed. Now we enter the diagnostic phase. You have accepted the theory that you are a high-mass structure trying to rest on low-capacity pillars. But how do you confirm this? How do you distinguish between a temporary mood swing and a permanent structural incompatibility? You look for the fractures. In engineering, before a bridge collapses, it gives warnings. Microfractures, stress lines, audible groans in the metal. Your life is giving you these exact signals right now. You have been ignoring them. You have been calling them social anxiety or impatience. They are not anxiety, they are data points. We are going to conduct a structural integrity audit. We are looking for 3 specific signs, 3 experiential markers that confirm you have exceeded the yield point of your current environment. Sign number 1, the conversation recoil. This is a visceral, physical reaction. You are in a conversation. It is a standard interaction. Perhaps with a parent, a childhood friend, or a colleague. They begin to speak. They launch into the same loop they have been running for a decade. The complaint about the boss, the gossip about the neighbor, the observation about the weather, and your body physically flinches. It is not a conscious thought. It happens before your brain engages. Your stomach tightens, your jaw locks. You feel a wave of nausea or a sudden sharp headache behind your eyes. You have an overwhelming urge to physically run from the room. You judge yourself for this. You think, I'm being arrogant, I'm being intolerant. Why can't I just be nice? Stop. This is not arrogance. This is resonance, dissonance. Think of two tuning forks. If they are calibrated to the same frequency, striking one makes the other vibrate. That is resonance, connection. But you have changed your frequency. You have spent months, maybe years, doing the heavy lifting, addressing your trauma, building your business, expanding your consciousness. You are oscillating at a higher rate. Your old circle is oscillating at a slower, denser rate. When a high-frequency wave meets a low-frequency wave that cannot match it, you do not get harmony. You get interference. You get noise. The recoil you feel is your energetic system rejecting the interference pattern. It is the same physics that causes a microphone to screech when it gets too close to the speaker. Feedback. Your biology is detecting a threat to your structural integrity. The low-level conversation is acting as a dampener. It is trying to absorb your momentum to fuel its own inertia. When you feel the recoil, do not force yourself to lean in. That nausea is a warning light on the dashboard. It is saying, current bandwidth insufficient for data transfer. Abort. Do not fake interest. Faking interest is structural fraud. You are painting over rust. Instead, you must use the yield protocol. You acknowledge the disconnect and you exit the interaction, not with malice, but with the precision of an engineer stepping away from a machine that is overheating. CTA, comment. I want you to audit your last week right now. Where did you feel the recoil? What specific topic makes you physically sick? Is it the endless complaints about a job they won't leave? Is it the cynical gossip about other people's failures? Go to the comments. Write down the specific topic that triggers your recoil. Do not write the person's name. Write the topic. Let's see the pattern of the interference. Sign number 2. The timeline lag. This is a temporal anomaly. It defies the clock. You agree to meet an old friend for coffee. The schedule says 1 hour. You sit down, you talk, you nod, you smile, you endure. When you leave, you check your watch. It has only been 60 minutes, but your body feels like you have been running a marathon for 3 days. You are depleted, hollowed out. You go home and you have to sleep for 4 hours just to recover to baseline. Why does a 1-hour coffee date require a 4-hour recovery time? This is thermodynamic friction. In physics, general relativity teaches us that high-mass objects warp space-time. Let's apply this to your social dynamics. Your internal growth has generated mass. You are moving fast. You are processing reality at a high velocity, solving problems, creating, evolving. Your old circle is stationary. They are anchored in 2015 or 2005. To interact with them, you have to apply the brakes. You have to decelerate your entire psychological system. You have to suppress your vocabulary. You have to pretend you don't see solutions to their problems because they aren't ready to solve them. You have to play dumb. Do you know how much energy it takes to stop a freight train? The heat you feel, the exhaustion, is the energy created by your own braking system. You are burning your own fuel just to sit still. You are not tired because you gave so much love. You are tired because you spent an hour fighting your own momentum. You generated massive amounts of heat through friction. This is unsustainable. An engine that runs with the brakes on will eventually catch fire. If you leave an interaction feeling heavier than when you entered, the interaction was a net negative energy exchange. The structure is failing. It cannot support the payload of your current reality. Sign number 3, the alien effect. This is the most disorienting marker. It is a shift in vantage point. You look at your family, you look at your spouse, you look at your best friend, and for a split second, you do not recognize them. You know their names, you know their birthdays, you know their history, but they feel like strangers, or worse, they feel like characters in a play that you have stopped watching. You see them reciting their lines, you see the emotional loops they are stuck in, the victimhood, the anger, the validation seeking. Before you were in the scene with them, you were reciting the lines back. You were part of the drama. Now you are in the audience, or maybe you are backstage. You see the props, you see the wires holding up the scenery, you see the makeup. You can no longer suspend your disbelief. You can see the mechanism behind their behavior. Oh, he is yelling because his father yelled at him. She is gossiping because she feels small. You see the cause and effect so clearly that you cannot get angry. You just feel egoistically distinct, separate, alien. This is not a lack of love. This is a shift in this dimensionality. You have moved from a 2D experience of life, reactionary, immediate, to a 3D experience, analytical, observational. You cannot fit a 3D object into a 2D plane without flattening it. When you try to force yourself back into the old dynamic, you feel like an imposter. You feel like you are acting, because you are. You are performing the role of who you used to be to keep them comfortable. But the audience doesn't applaud anymore. You just feel the hollowness of the performance. This alien sensation is the final proof. The yield point has been exceeded. The material has stretched as far as it can go. You are standing on the bridge, and you are looking at the pillars, and you realize they are made of paper. Do not try to turn the paper into stone. Do not try to unsee the wires. Once you see the mechanism, you cannot go back to sleep. This acts as the confirmation of your audit. The structure is compromised. The cracks are visible. The heat is rising. Now that we have diagnosed the failure, we must install the retrofits. We do not destroy the bridge out of anger. We re-engineer the load. We move to the embodiment. We are going to shift gears now. We have engaged the intellect. We have analyzed the mechanics of the failure. But understanding the physics of a collapsing bridge doesn't stop your hands from shaking. You can know exactly why a structure is failing, but if you are still standing on top of it, your body is still firing cortisol. Your body is still bracing for the fall. You are likely holding tension in your jaw, your trapezius, and your solar plexus right now, simply because you have spent months, maybe years, trying to hold up a ceiling that is collapsing on top of you. We need to calibrate the system. We need to move this data from your prefrontal cortex down into your nervous system. We are going to run a structural integrity scan. This is not a meditation to clear your mind. We are not trying to float away. We are doing the opposite. We are going to feel gravity. We are going to feel mass. We are going to verify the engineering of your own soul. Wherever you are, I want you to sit with your spine erect. If you can, place your feet flat on the floor. Uncross your legs. We need a clear vertical line for the load to travel. Close your eyes. Phase 1. The load assessment. Take a deep breath in, filling the cavity of your chest, and as you exhale, I want you to drop your shoulders. Drop them hard. Stop holding them up. Let gravity take them. I want you to bring your attention to the concept of weight. Usually we interpret heaviness as a problem. We say, I feel heavy, and we mean we are sad. We mean we are depressed. But in engineering, weight is just mass. It is substance. It is reality. Feel the weight of your body in the chair. Feel the density of your bones. Now, I want you to visualize the weight of who you have become in the last year. Think about the truths you have realized. Think about the illusions you have shattered. Think about the discipline you have installed. Think about the complexity of the thoughts you now think. This is not stress, this is mass. You have accumulated spiritual density. You are not the same hollow frame you were 5 years ago. You have been filled with concrete, with steel, with obsidian. You are a skyscraper. You are massive. Feel that density sitting in your stomach. It is solid. It is immovable. It is real. Acknowledge this right now. I am heavy with purpose. I am heavy with truth. Do not apologize for your mass. Feel it anchor you to the earth. You are a high-load structure. Phase 2, testing the old pillars. Now, keeping that sense of massive, heavy dignity, I want you to bring the image of your old circle into your mind. The old friends, the family members who don't get it, the colleagues who speak in loops. Do not judge them. Do not get angry at them. Just visualize them as the support pillars underneath your feet. Visualize them as wooden beams. old, weathered, splintering wood. You are standing on top of them. You, with your new mass. You, with your skyscraper weight. What happens? Feel the physics of it. Notice the sensation in your body as you try to stand on this platform. It's wobbling, isn't it? You feel that tremor in your legs. That is the structural instability of the dynamic. Listen, can you hear the creaking? Can you hear the wood groaning under the pressure of your truth? You have been interpreting this wobbling as your own anxiety. You thought you were shaking. You thought you were unstable. You've been silently carrying this fear that you are crazy or unbalanced. Look closer at the simulation. You aren't shaking. You are solid rock. The platform is shaking. The pillars are buckling. They are bending in the middle. They are reaching their yield point. Notice how much energy you are expending right now just to stay upright on this shifting surface. Notice how your muscles are micro-adjusting every millisecond to prevent a crash. This is why you are exhausted. This is why you need a nap after coffee with them. You are acting as a human gyroscope, trying to stabilize a platform that is mathematically incapable of holding your weight. See the wood splintering. See the cracks forming. It's not malice. It's just insufficient material science. They are wood. You have become steel. The collapse is not a possibility. It is a mathematical certainty. Phase 3, the controlled collapse. Now comes the hardest part. The part you have been avoiding for years. In your mind's eye, I want you to step off the pillars. Do not try to fix them. Do not try to tape them up. Do not try to lighten your load to save them. Just step off. Let the contract collapse. For a moment, you will feel the sensation of freefall. This is the terror of the void. This is the social quarantine. This is the moment where the ego screams, "If I leave them, I will have no one. I will fall forever." But watch what happens. You do not fall forever. You fall for exactly 1 second, and then you hit something else. Slam. You land. Hard, solid, unshakable. You have landed on the bedrock. You have landed on the core of your own being. You have landed on the earth itself. Feel the difference immediately. The wobbling stops. The trembling in your legs stops. The creaking noise creates silence. You are standing on the ground. The ground does not yield. The ground does not judge your weight. The ground can hold a skyscraper. The ground can hold a mountain. Look up at the splintered wooden remains of the old platform above you. You were trying to live up there, in the air on a rickety stage set, because you were afraid of the ground. You were afraid of being alone. But here on the bedrock, you are not alone. You are supported by the planet. Feel the relief wash over your nervous system. You don't have to balance anymore. You don't have to shrink. You can be as heavy as you want. You can be as intense as you want. The bedrock takes it all. Breathe into this stability. This is what it feels like to stop performing and start existing. It is heavy. It is still. It is silent. Phase 4, the steel retrofit. Now that you are grounded, now that you are stable, we can begin construction. You cannot build a skyscraper on wood, but you can build it on bedrock. I want you to visualize the future. It is not here yet, and that is okay. But I want you to sense the materials coming toward you. Visualize massive, cold, industrial beams of steel rising up from the ground around you. These represent your new circle. These represent the people who have also done the work. The people who have also become dense with truth. Imagine standing next to a steel pillar. Reach out in your mind and touch it. It doesn't give. It doesn't warp. It is cold to the touch. It is hard. It vibrates at a low, powerful frequency. Lean your full weight against this steel pillar. Does it buckle? No. It holds you. It pushes back with equal force. This is what high-performance connection feels like. It is not nice. It is not comfortable in the soft, cozy sense. It is secure. It allows you to rest your full weight without fear of destruction. You are building a structure where you don't have to dim your light to save the structural integrity of the room. You are building a room that is fireproof, soundproof, and bomb-proof. See the grid of steel rising around you. It is empty right now, but the framework is up. The architecture is sound. Stand in the center of your new construction site. Feel the wind. Feel the potential. You are no longer a precarious burden on a fragile past. You are the architect of a fortified future. Take one final deep breath. inhaling the smell of wet concrete and cold iron, the smell of a fresh start. Hold it. And as you exhale, open your eyes. Look around your room. It might look the same, but the physics have changed. You are no longer asking wood to do the work of steel. You have felt the difference. You know the texture of the upgrade. I want you to take a moment right now while the sensation is still in your muscles. Go to the comments. I want to know the sensory data. What one word describes the feeling of that steel support? Was it cold, solid, quiet, terrifying? Type that one word below. Anchor the sensation in the physical world. Tell the algorithm, and tell yourself, that you have felt the standard. You are no longer the victim of a changing social circle. You are the site manager. You are the chief engineer of your own life. Up until this moment, you have been operating under the assumption that connection is a democracy, that everyone gets an equal vote on your time and energy. That is structural negligence. In engineering, not all beams are created equal. Some carry the roof, others just hold up a poster. If you treat a piece of drywall like a steel column, the collapse is not the drywall's fault. It is yours. We are going to install 3 specific protocols to operationalize this new awareness. These are not social hacks. They are maintenance schedules for a high-performance structure. The first tool is the load audit. You are currently suffering from classification error. You look at your phone, scroll through your contacts, and you feel a vague sense of guilt because you aren't maintaining these connections. You think you owe them all the same depth of intimacy. This is incorrect in architecture. There is a critical distinction between a load-bearing wall and an aesthetic partition. A load-bearing wall is structural. It holds the weight of the stories above it. If you remove it, the house falls down. An aesthetic partition, a non-load-bearing wall, exists only to divide space. It looks nice. It holds paint well. But if you try to rest a heavy structural beam on it, it will buckle instantly. Your mistake is that you are trying to rest the heavy beam of your new consciousness, your grief, your ambition, your darkest shadow, on people who are structurally designed to be aesthetic partitions. You are angry at them for crumbling. You are frustrated that they change the subject back to the weather. You shouldn't be. You are trying to park a tank on a coffee table. Here is the audit. Take your top 10 contacts. Do not judge them by history. We've been friends since 3rd grade. Judge them by capacity. Label them. Label the load-bearing relationships. These are the people who can handle the raw weight of your truth without cracking. They don't offer platitudes. They don't flinch when you talk about death or money or the terrifying vastness of your future. Then label the aesthetic relationships. These are the people for movies, for nostalgia, for light coffee dates where you talk about nothing. And this is the critical shift. There is nothing wrong with an aesthetic wall. They are necessary. They make the house of your life pleasant. The problem arises only when you demand they become load-bearing. Stop leaning on the drywall. Enjoy it for what it is, decoration. When you need to support the weight of your soul, go to the steel. If you don't have the steel yet, stand alone. It is safer to support your own weight than to rely on a structure that is guaranteed to fail. This leads us to the second tool, the yield protocol. This is your action plan for the interactions you choose to keep. You often leave social gatherings feeling drained, irritated, or resentful. You tell yourself, I stayed too long. The physics suggests you stayed past the point of permanent deformation. Recall the stress-strain curve. In the elastic region, a material can be stretched and will return to its original shape perfectly when the stress is removed. This is a healthy interaction. You give energy, you take energy, you leave feeling like yourself. Past a certain point, you hit the plastic region. Here, the material stretches, but it does not snap back. It is permanently warped. This is how you feel when you stay an hour longer than you wanted to because you were too polite to leave. You leave the interaction feeling bent. You are irritable for days. You snap at your partner. You have sustained structural damage. The yield protocol requires you to execute the exit before you hit the plastic region. You must monitor your internal telemetry. There is a specific signal your body gives you about 20 minutes before you snap. It is the voltage drop. You are listening to a friend complain about the same relationship drama for the 50th time. Suddenly, your jaw tightens. Your focus blurs. You feel a sudden urge to check your phone. That is the alarm. That is the warning shot. You are at the edge of the elastic region. Most people ignore this. They push through for another hour out of politeness. That extra hour is where the damage happens. That is where the resentment breeds. The protocol is simple. Detect the drop. Execute the exit. You do not need a lie. You do not need a fake emergency. You use the engineering truth. I've hit a wall. I need to head out. Leaving 10 minutes early saves the relationship. It keeps the interaction in the elastic region, preserving the memory as positive. Staying 10 minutes too long destroys it. You're not being rude by leaving, you are engaging in preventative maintenance. You are protecting the structural integrity of the friendship by not allowing it to stretch until it tears. Finally, we must install the third and most difficult tool, the vacancy hold. When you execute the load audit and the yield protocol, you will notice something terrifying. You will notice a lot of empty space. You will realize that perhaps 90% of your circle was aesthetic. You will realize you have very few load-bearing columns. The immediate human instinct is to panic. You feel the silence of your life and you label it loneliness. You rush to fill the void with noise, with podcasts, with low-quality dates, with anyone who will occupy the space. Do not do this. This is the construction zone. If you pour concrete and immediately start walking on it, you ruin the foundation. Concrete requires curing time. It needs to sit undisturbed to achieve its maximum hardness. You are in the curing phase. The world calls this spiritual awakening loneliness. Physics calls it the necessary interval for stabilization. This void is not a sign that you are unlovable. It is a sign that you have cleared the debris. You have demolished the rotting wood. The site is clear. The vacancy hold is the discipline of keeping that space empty. It is the refusal to downgrade your standards just to silence the echo. You must understand the signaling mechanism of the universe. If you fill your time with low-capacity people because you are afraid of being alone, you are signaling that your capacity is low. You are telling the market, I'm available for cheap labor. But if you hold the vacancy, if you sit in that silence, grounded, heavy, unyielding, you generate a massive gravitational signal. You are demonstrating that you have the structural integrity to stand without props. This is difficult. You will feel the urge to text the ex. You will feel the urge to go to the bar with the people who bore you. Apply the brake. Hold the line. The emptiness is not an error. It is the ventilation required for the new steel to arrive. You are not waiting. You are curing. You are hardening. You are preparing to bear a load heavier than anything you have carried before. You have stopped the internal bleeding. You have stopped looking at a collapsed wooden beam and asking it why it couldn't hold up a skyscraper. You have moved from the confusion of the victim to the precision of the engineer. This is the critical shift. You are no longer standing in the rubble of your old friendships, wondering if you are a bad person because you survived the quake. You are standing in the cleared lot of your own future, holding the blueprints for something that can actually withstand the magnitude of who you have become. Feel the difference in the air around you right now. It is quieter. It might feel colder. That is not isolation. That is the feeling of structural security. For the first time in your life, you are not shaking to match the frequency of a wobbling room. You are still. You are grounded. You have analyzed the load. You identified the yield points. You accepted the fracture. You did not try to glue the past back together. You let it fall. This creates a vacuum. In the construction industry, before a skyscraper goes up, there is a massive hole in the ground. It looks like a scar on the city. Passers-by look at it and see nothing. But the architect looks at it and sees the foundation for a skyline. You are currently standing in that hole. You are in the curing phase. Concrete takes 28 days to reach full structural strength. It cannot be rushed. If you load it too early, it cracks. You are currently curing. You are hardening. And yes, it is lonely. But here is the engineering reality that we must face before we close this session. A bridge that leads to nowhere is a failed structure. A steel tower standing in a desert with no roads leading to it is a monument to ego, not a functional system. You are an organism designed for connection. You are built for traffic, for exchange, for the transfer of massive amounts of energy. You have upgraded your materials from wood to steel, not so you can stand alone and rust, but so you can handle a heavier class of traffic. The question that is likely haunting you right now as you stand in this fortified solitude is simple. Where are they? If I am made of steel now, where are the other steel towers? Because when you look out at the horizon of your current life, all you see is the sawdust of the structures you just outgrew. You look at your phone, and the contact list is full of wood. You look at your city, and it feels like a model village made of balsa. You feel like a giant trapped in a dollhouse. This brings us to the limit of structural mechanics. We have fixed your internal statics. We have ensured you will not collapse under your own weight. But we have not yet solved the problem of dynamic connection. How do you find the people who can hold your weight? How do you signal across the fog to the other architects who are building at your level? You cannot go out and hunt for them. You cannot advertise for them. You cannot force a wooden pillar to transmute into steel through sheer willpower. You have already tried that. It failed. The next phase of your evolution is not about building walls. It is about emitting a signal. We are moving from the physics of statics to the physics of magnetism and resonance. There are others. There are people who have undergone the exact same retrofitting process you have just survived. They are currently standing in their own construction zones, feeling the exact same heavy silence, waiting for a signal that matches their new density. But they cannot find you if you are still pretending to be wood. They cannot find you if you are still painting yourself with the camouflage of your old self to avoid making people uncomfortable. To find the new tribe, you must broadcast the raw, unpolished frequency of your new reality. You have to be willing to stand as a steel beam in the open air, unclad and unmasked. This requires a different kind of courage. It is not the courage to endure pain. It is the courage to endure visibility. If you are ready to stop apologizing for your strength and start finding the people who require it, you need to join this construction crew. We are not just fixing broken hearts here. We are building a network of high-load capacity individuals. Subscribe to the channel. We are laying the fiber optics for the new city. In the next briefing, we're going to leave the construction site and enter the laboratory of electromagnetism. We will dismantle the myth of bad luck in relationships. We are going to explain, with scientific precision, why you keep attracting toxic people, the parasites who feed on your new energy, and how to invert that polarity to summon the 1%. We will discuss the physics of resonance and how to turn your new structural integrity into a homing beacon for your true peers. Until then, hear this clearly. Do not mourn the wood that rotted. It served you. It held you when you were lighter. It carried you across the rivers of your childhood and your early growth. It did its job. Honor it, thank it. And then, clear the debris. Do not keep the rotting timber in your living room out of nostalgia. It is a fire hazard. Your new capacity demands a new caliber of connection. You have built the foundation. Now, we build the metropolis. Stand tall in the void. Let the concrete cure. The traffic is coming.